And now time to talk greyhound chasing.
Racing, jumping quickly near the inside, Hurricane Taylor flying Frida drives up on the outside to put pressure on in search of the lead. In behind them was Speed Freak, Ballistic Ant. Last of all was Blessed Doll to the front straight, flying Frida works up around the outside, finds the top. Hurricane Taylor is in second, then followed by Speed Freak, 3 lengths away, Ballistic Ant. Blessed Doll sees them all and had to check off Hills. Towards the back straight they go, flying Frida on the arm, out by 2. Hurricane Taylor right on the hills, a further 2 away, Speed Freak. 5 lengths behind them, Ballistic Ant and Blessed Doll off the back. Flying Frida extends out by 2.5, 3 now. Hurricane Taylor up on the inside. Speed Freak runs on, but around the corner and Flying Frida, she's going to remain undefeated over the 7:15. 3 from 3. Flying Frida wins by 5 lengths. Second goes to Speed Freak. Blessed.
Yeah, she's a beauty, Flying Frida. Chris Halse, the trainer, joins us on the aftermath this morning. A very good morning, Chris.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we've got Brad over there in Melbourne as well.
Hello, Chris.
Tell us about that
Morning,
win of
Brad.
Flying Frida last night over the 7:15.
Yeah, no, she sort of popped up at the right time as well for ourselves and Justin. With King Tommy being on the sidelines for a little bit longer. So, she's one of those dogs that gets on the arm and, she was real strong on the line too. So that was really encouraging for us that you push on more now for 700s with her.
Yeah, and she looks like she's just made for it, Chris.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, she a little bit tardy at box race, so that sort of helps her out over the longer journey. So, she's really made for it, actually. So she's a little pocket rocket. So, yeah, we love her, and she's a kennel favourite, everybody around there, so it's good.
You mentioned Justin. His tentacles are going everywhere these days, aren't they?
Yeah, look, we've jumped on the bandwagon a bit too. Linda got involved with that Glasgow lass with him last weekend, and she looks a nice filly, and with the horses, and we've got the dogs and as well. So the dogs have been good. King Tommy, Cout Surfer, and numerous others that Justin's in on. It's been a good ride.
Chris, obviously the big awards night tonight. Have you got a thought process of who might take it out?
Look, for the greyhound of the year, I think Elite Machine's a standout. It'd probably be wrong if he didn't. It won the $1 million race up in Queensland and the Perth Cup and a few other nice races. And you'd be pretty disappointed if you owned that dog and you didn't win the trophy. But look, there's always a panel for him, so you let them work that out. And but no, that's been a mighty dog for representing WA really proudly during the year.
Chris, yourself, you're positioned this year to maybe win the Trainer of the Year. You took it out in 18-19.
Yeah, apparently so. I do win that tonight. I'm looking forward to a good night, actually. It's up at Fraser's, which is a change of venue for a change. And, it was a really good year. Amazing year, actually. We had, especially the couple of others that Justin did breed. And I think he trained his first year as a breeder. He's had 100 winners. So it's a mighty effort by Justin, really. So, we just sort of been, we train them. It's been a good ride for everybody, and it's actually been. It was a real fun year, actually.
Chris, for the uninitiated, how many got in your kennel?
We had a lot more last year, early in the year. We're sort of cutting numbers down a bit now. It's probably my fault. I'm actually getting a couple of bilateral knees put in next month, so just cut the team a bit down. We've already got 35 to nominate and probably 12, 14 pups breaking in at one time.
Hey, Chris, what were the highlights of the year from you from a trainer's perspective?
Oh, look, Cout Surfer's a real iron dog. For me, we won quite a few feature races last year with different dogs like King Tommy and Cout Surfer. But he's a dog that turned up every week. I think he won 22 races in the calendar year. That's like winning a race every other week. So it was sort of like an iron dog that really sort of flew the flag for the kennel no matter where you put him, what distance you put him, wherever you put him. He went across the east. It didn't matter where you put him, he went really well. So, he's probably the standout dog for me for the year. And, a real highlight that he's a real nice kennel dog to go with it. And, versatile dog, which makes it even better. And, he sort of helped us all year.
Chris, I know you've got a great sense of humour. Have you watched the replay of Flying Frida from last night?
I did, yeah, this morning. Yeah.
Did the cameraman have a bit of a nana nap at the...
I thought, yeah, I think he was on a Sunday night mission, clocking the 275 and switched off. Yeah. I got other calls for it, but I won't go there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know what he's doing with his phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She shows a lot of tractability, though, doesn't she? I mean, like the squeeze box, the 4, I mean, that's what it's known as, isn't it? But as long as she gets clear running early, she really gathers.
She really does gather well. Even when you race over the 500, I think she was favourite for the Oaks over 500. She really she doesn't. She tries to come out too quick. I think there's a problem, and she tends to dwell then. And but she really must as well. So, look, it's a bit like Couch Surfer. She's very versatile. She can you can put her in a 500 metre feature race, 600 metre feature race, and a 700, and she'll account herself very, very well. You know, so yeah, lucky to have her.
Hey, Chris, celebrating 50 years of greyhound racing later this year or during this year. What's your overview of how it's positioned in WA and nationally at the moment?
Yeah, look, obviously with the game, like I think I was 11 or 12 years of age, and I used to live in the Linwood Langford area, and I remember the hype about the greyhound starting up in those days. And but no, look, there's. Hopefully we've got a biggest problem with the industry at the moment is, obviously, you're finding the homes for them at the end, and then I think that's just a bit of a clog-up thing at the moment. But other than that, the prize money is amazing. The standard of racing is amazing. So you just, it's actually a good part of the good industry to be part of. So, while you enjoy it, you keep doing it.
Chris, I love your business model. You don't mind giving back to the other codes as well. All the best tonight. Enjoy it. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful evening up there at Fraser's, and let's hope next year is as good as this.
Thanks very much, guys.
There he is, Ripper. Chris Halse and...
Fraser's. Tough up like a rat with a gold tooth tonight.
Yeah. Nowadays, we used to be at the back of the Criterion in Hay Street.
Or the Royal.
Hey, Brad, we've got Timmy Clark.
Peter O'Neill will be going, wouldn't he? Peter going?
He's the rat in the gold tooth. Don't worry about that.
Is he the MC?
Yes, I think so. He normally does. He does a terrific job too. Does a very good job year in, year out. I'm pretty sure he'd be doing the MC duties there this evening.
Hey, Marty,
yes.
That was humour, wasn't it? The poor old
cameraman nodded off. What was the director doing? He was nodding off as well.
Hey, buddy, wake up.
Yeah.
We're still going.
Bradley, it is 22 past 6. I've got a...
Ralphy pick up the tab, sees them all, 6 off the lead. So King of Rousseau work to the lead. Now Prost has come off heels and parks up on the outside, giving Enhance a bit of cover. And Traffic Warden with plenty of room on the rails. Into the straight, King of Rousseau leads by 2. 2 lengths away to Prost, and then came Enhance. Traffic Warden looking for clear running. Fearless is coming down the outside. King of Rousseau being tested by Prost now. And Prost went up to put the head in front. Hasn't accelerated away, but it's a length on Fearless. And then came Traffic Warden. Prost in front of Fearless, and Prost pushed out. Will go on and beat Fearless. Bob with the heads for third. Maybe
there's
Traffic
Prost winning the Canterbury Stakes there yesterday, and a couple of races later out came Lady of Camelot to win the Widden Stakes, both trained by Waterhouse Bott and both ridden by Timmy Clark, our special guest. A very good morning, Top Cat. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Great, thank you.
Must be great today after that. What a beautiful day for you yesterday with these two.
Yeah, it was a great day. Obviously went to the races with high expectations of both horses, and they didn't let me down. They both really delivered, and put themselves into sort of all the major 2-year-old races into calculations for them, over the next couple of months.
Tim, Brad, mate, congratulations. That was an excellent effort, because I thought there were two different sort of wins. I mean, Prost was a bit of a tactical one. There was a bit of a word around that King of Rousseau wanted to go to the front. You drew well. Were you aware of that? So you just made it work a little early?
Yeah, we're always going to, from where we drew, he began really well. We're always going to be positive early, and like always, to see how the race unfolded. It's no secret how Gay and Adrian like their horses ridden, and we always go out there with that mindset to be positive early, and then if something does want to go, we let them go. that's how it worked out yesterday with him. And I think it worked out well for him. It gave him, he's pretty laid back, Colt, and it just gave him a bit of a bunny and something to keep focused on.
And then he had to fight hard, didn't he, when Fearless came at him late? So it was a courageous win in the end as well. But then Lady of Camelot, I think she got all the tongues wagging with that win. She went quicker than Pross, 102.53, home 33.28. Still looked a little bit green in the straight as well.
Yeah, definitely still learning, and I think there's still a little bit more to come from her. I think she's got a bit more to give. But look, I was a little bit surprised in the discrepancy of the time because, obviously we had King of Rousseau going out pretty quickly in Pross race. So, I wouldn't say that's just, that's a definite indication as to that she's that much better than him, but because I think that they're just different horses, and I think that obviously she done a great job though, and not taking anything away from her. She done it all herself. She ran the time from the front, so she's obviously extremely smart. But I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't take anything away from Prost's effort, even though he didn't run as fast a time. But she can only improve, and once she sort of works it all out a little bit more, she had her ears pricked most of the way, and she's just so fast. She just covers the ground so well. I said yesterday she wouldn't break ice. She's so light on her feet. But I loved it when at the 200-metre mark she eventually got over onto a fresh leg, and she accelerated and put them away, with the blink of an eye. So they've both come back in great order.
Tim, fair to say, still about 6 weeks to the grand final for these babies, and a lot can happen in that period of time. We know that the stable are flying, and they've got probably their pecking order. How's the posturing going to getting on the right horse?
Yeah, it's look, there's a few of them that have obviously already sorted out, but there's probably them two yesterday and a couple of others that sort of floating around they've got to continue to sort of take the next steps and improve, and it's going to be interesting times over the next 4 to 6 weeks. But I'd imagine they'll both have another run, maybe two, going into the slipper, and then all the other horses will sort of start rolling out again soon in the silver slippers and Todmans and that sort of thing. So they've got an embarrassment of riches there at the moment, Gain Adrian, and it's nice to be able to ride a few of them.
There's a bit going on before that Wooden Stakes too, wasn't there, with Celerity playing up, and then J-Mac, dislodged first off and then crushing his ankle in the barriers. What's the latest with J-Mac, have you heard?
I think he had a bit of a broken toenail, I think. So, he laid down pretty quickly. So, no, I don't know. When she was rearing up in the gates, because she was next to me, it just kept jamming his foot. So obviously he was in a bit of discomfort there, and he's still in a bit of discomfort back in the room afterwards. I'm not sure whether he headed to Hong Kong overnight or not, but he was pretty keen to ride her after he dropped him the first time, but obviously. It didn't work out.
Timmy,
the word is, Tim, though, I think he was in 1A last night with his foot
with the foot up.
Ice, so.
Sounds about right.
Hey, Tim, it was interesting those comments that you made about you were surprised how quick she went compared to Prost, and there were comments during the day that they were really surprised how fast the times were overall, that the track had a little bit of give in it, the wind wasn't like it was conducive to fast times. Do you want to expand on that a bit?
Yeah, well, even like 6 metre rail too, they generally they don't run that sort of time. It was running into a slight bit of breeze down the back straight, so they're all little things that you would think that would see them not run the times they did, and the track didn't feel, it didn't feel like a road either. So, it was interesting and a bit surprising that they were running the times they were. So, obviously we're getting around to carnival time as well, and obviously the better horses are back, so they're generally going to run better time than your general Saturday horses. But I was a little bit surprised how quick they were running, but. I don't know, have really an explanation to be honest.
Tim, you rode one for Chris Waller in race 7, Robusto. I've been following this horse, and the penny seems to have dropped. It looked like a horse of promise early. It was a little bit enigmatic, but you seem to have found the key to it.
Yeah, well, obviously he was a bit unlucky not to get the result yesterday, but he's having a great prep. Chris said to me beforehand that he's a little bit quirky, so obviously there's probably the reasons he's been a bit inconsistent in the past, but he seems to have got his act together now. Riding him that little bit, just getting covered up because he can just over-race early. So it's just important to get him to switch off, and if he does that, he'll finish off, which he did yesterday. He's just, with the big weight when he did get held up, and just took him a little bit of time to accelerate, but he's racing in good form.
Okay, Timmy, you're riding in wonderful form. Are there any out of these 2-year-olds ready to pop out of Tulloch Lodge that we should know about?
Well, I think they'll be strong again next Saturday in the English Millennium with I think Fully Lit's one of the favourites now, and I'm riding Trunk for them. I think he's pretty promising as well. So yeah, they're going to be hard to beat again next week in that race, and I don't know if there's too many more to step out that are going to sort of put themselves into slipper calculations. I think we've seen the majority of them, but the ones we have seen have come pretty well, so there probably doesn't need to be any more to come out.
Just a quick one, Tim. I said to myself, I ever got a chance to talk to Timmy Clark. I mean, you guys ride so many very good horses, and you're great horsemen. Hot Danish, your favourite?
Yeah, she's always going to have a special place in my heart, I guess. It's, for what she did in my career early on, but Alligator Blood's probably sort of contesting for that position anyway.
And the news that broke...
unfortunately out.
Yeah. Can you give us an update on him? What was the story there?
He trialled, obviously, Thursday week ago and pulled up after that trial with some swelling. And, post that, there's scans and revealed a tendon injury that's going to... or a Paston injury that's going to require, a fair bit of time to recover. So, I think he's gone up to rest now and see what happens, I guess. He's come back from adversity before, and who's to say he won't do that again. But if he doesn't, he doesn't have to prove anything, and he's done an incredible job, and he's had an incredible career to date anyway.
Tim, thanks for coming on the Aftermath. Well done on a great day yesterday and going forward as well.
Beauty. Thanks, guys.
He's a ripper, Timmy Clark. Now, I've got one here off the Retrovision text line for you, Bradley.
Yes.
It's from Snoz. He always writes a good one.
Snoz.
I sent this yesterday because I was so annoyed with the Australian cricket selection. Why play Smith and Labuschagne when we all know what their game is about? The bowling attack they faced was the weakest lineup that the West Indies could produce, and are the two above players frightened that if new players were introduced into the side and made runs, their spot in the side could be under threat? Xavier Bartlett showed the selectors what happens when you play youth. Jake Fraser-McGurk must be given the same opportunity. Regarding all-rounders in the side, Hardie is the best performed and didn't get a bowl or bat. So how can these younger players show their ability? Time for the older players to step aside and not to be frightened of losing their position. That's a well-written text.
Oh, brilliant. And I couldn't agree more with Snoz. I mean, we've been talking about that with the test match lineup, and it's no different here. I think Hazelwood's back today. I mean, why would he need to be? I mean, it's just a nothing, pardon the pun, it's a nothing game, and yet he wants to play, so, yeah, very, very interesting. And we saw what Bartlett could do. The wild thing, disappointed a little bit for mine, Marty. He charged even in that semi-final of the BBL. I just thought he just hasn't bowled enough. They've just managed him or over-managed him too much. I don't think he's just charging in and letting it go. There's no thought, to me anyway. He's such a promising prospect, and I agree with Snoz. I mean, you can't get better if you're not, sort of unearthed and given a chance.
Look at Shamar.
Exactly.
Look at young Joseph.
Oh, exactly right. I mean, and again, not going back on the old chestnut, but Bancroft, he's had a go. It was 3 years ago he played Test cricket. 3 years ago. He's a better player now. They just don't want to find out. That's the problem.
Yep. Win of the day at Ascot. Red 53, Absolute Blinder. Jimmy Pommy Pike, what a win it was off a very good trial. Chris Nelson's not far away. Just wanted to bring up to date 2 Asian Cup playoffs, and Japan are out. Now, they were the league favourites, the tournament favourites. Iran got them. My young bloke tipped me Iran had beat them 2-1 there, and Qatar 2, Uzbekistan 1. So that was decided on penalties. So a big upset. Iran beating Japan, and they now go into the semi-finals. Chris Nelson is online. A very good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Brad.
Track was on fire yesterday, Chris. We were just talking to Timmy Clark about that at Rose Hill. Good times.
Yeah. They're running records and all sorts of things at Rose Hill yesterday. So you can't put a lot into that. I mean, if they're all running fast times, then the track was obviously very, very quick. So just take that into account when you go forward and do your form in the next few weeks.
Well, we just spoke to Timmy about the win of Prost in the Canterbury Stakes, and as he said, take nothing away from him. Don't get too caught up in the times it v Lady Camelot. It was a good fighting win in the end because Fearless looked to almost have his measure in the straight.
Yeah, well, look, Prost jumped well, and I thought would probably lead, but King of Rousseau wanted the front. So Timmy, as he probably mentioned to you guys, was happy to hand up and sit second, was King of Rousseau led. Now, look, the shape of the race did suit those on speed, obviously. So Prost was favoured there, but it was still a good win, I thought. I thought Fearless was good. Second last, probably 6 lengths off the leaders, and still ended up running the fastest last 600, 400 and 200 of the entire race against that tempo. So I thought Fearless was very good in the race, and I also thought Traffic Warden, who was just sort of behind them in the straight and never really got a clear crack. Nashville Willer never got a chance to get stuck into Traffic Warden. So I thought that run was good also. So Prost was good, but yeah, I think the tempo did help Prost out, and the two that were good against that tempo were both Fearless and Traffic Warden.
Yeah, King of Rousseau got a mate who's in that, and they were hell-bent on leading, and it was great tactically by Clark to just get that suck along behind him initially. Yep. So, yeah, something to look forward to going there. We go to race number 4, Lady Laguna. Now, there was a mix. She won so well, and I said, she might be a bit of a Queensland horse, but she just put them away like they weren't even there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the times told this tale here, Brad. They've gone out, this is 1,200 metres, they've gone out in 36.26. The first 600, they've come home in 32.48. That's almost 4 seconds difference, and it was impossible for any to make ground here. Lady Laguna sat outside of Malkovich, the trial star that he is. Doesn't bring that trial form to the races, unfortunately, Malkovich. He had every possible chance, but Lady Laguna's just flying. As we know, as you just mentioned there, she was going really well in Queensland. Hard to say, I thought, was a good effort because he was the only one that made any ground from off-speed. He wasn't a long way back or anything like that, but he was able to take some ground off Lady Laguna. But look, the times tell the tale. She had a really good run outside the lead, and she was always going to be too good for them class-wise in that tempo. How Baller ran 5th. He pulled up 2/5 lane, but I just don't know how well Baller's going these days. So we mightn't see too much more of him.
Okay, on to the Whitten Stakes. It was Lady at Camelot. At one stage in the straight when she was just probably not concentrating, looked like Manal might be able to run past her, but then she flattened out and ran a very good closing sectional 33.28 to win impressively.
Yeah, she ran the fastest first 200 and the fastest last 200 there, Marty, so we'd love to see that. She was good, and you're right, she looked at her halfway down the straight there as though she might just be vulnerable, but that wasn't the case. And I thought the ones that were behind her, the likes of Alinea, a Wavebreaker, Extreme Diva, they had their chances. Manal passed all of those in the straight, so plenty of love there for the filly Manal. She ran a really good race. And there was a little sneaky one there. The horse that ran 5th by the name of The Eyes Have It, trained by Nathan Doyle, had only had one start at Scone and ran on really well. Missed the start a length, probably gave them 7 or 8 lengths. Sectionals home were very, very good for The Eyes Have It. So one to put in your black book there was an $81 shot, beaten 5 lengths, but it was good late.
Chris, just before we leave that, obviously Barney and I were talking to Tim Clark about the wealth of talent of 2-year-olds that the Waterhouse stable have got. How's this going to play out? There's still 6 weeks to go, I know, but how's it going to play out? How can they take on Storm Boy? I mean, like, a lot of them have similar racing patterns, if that's what I'm saying. I mean, That's not going to be
They all do, Brad.
To be winning against him, yeah.
They all lead.
But they all like to go to the front and control. Yeah.
I think it's a fair thought to say the Slipper's going to be running a pretty quick tempo this year if all these Waterhouse Bond horses turn up. But, I mean, they might have 10 horses in this field. I mean, we still haven't seen Straight Charge yet appear. He was a chance in the millions, but had an issue there with a high temperature, I think. So there's more to come. I mean, we forget about Fully Lit a couple of weeks ago. There's Storm Boy and there's others. And there's Shangri-La Express, who's well in the market as well. So, yeah, it's going to be one hell of an interesting lead-up to the Slipper, and they're just going to dominate. But, yeah, you're right, Brad. Where are they all going to go? Because they can't all lead.
No, we just heard from Timmy Clark saying Fully Lit's out this Saturday as well, and you just get the feeling that the horses must be working all right. He was very keen to talk about it.
Yeah, well, very impressive on the clock and to the eye on debut on the trial. Before that, Fully Lit was just absolutely strangle-held down the straight there. So who knows? I mean, who knows which one is the better of them? I'd love to know the top three, in the opinion of the stable.
Yeah, good luck. Infatuation got the job done, and Salt Coach was well fancied.
I like the run of Salt Coach, Brad. First up from a break. We haven't seen a lot of Salt Coach. He's a former New Zealand galloper. He hasn't had a lot of starts. Last prep he was okay, but I think he'll be a lot better this prep. I think just probably being a run short worked against him here. Infatuation, hard fit, was able to lead. And up on the speed yesterday was obviously helpful in some of these races because they did sprint home. So the fitness worked in Infatuation's favour, but I certainly want to follow Salt Coach going forward. Built was okay. I think the drop back in distance obviously worked against there. And Powerful Peg, who sat outside Infatuation, that's two poor runs. Powerful Peg is now in the bin at the moment, guys.
In the bin. Okay, now
in the bin.
Back up Eagle Farm. Now the first winner for the 2-year-olds, Whiskey, I thought was pretty impressive.
Well, this is all about the clock as well, Marty. 37.48 out, 34.20 home.
Yeah.
So Mashani Crown led Pride of Venus and Enterprise Defence. They should have finished 1, 2, 3, but they weren't good enough. Whiskey, who was 4 lengths off them, was able to run them down. So what looked to be a grinding sort of finish was a very, very good effort, considering on debut, 1,200 metres against that tempo. Whiskey's probably better than that run probably appears to the eye. So, I think you're on the money there. Whiskey was a good performance, and no doubt we'll see this one head back to Sydney and head towards some of those big races leading into the Slipper as well.
Yeah, they place the horses very well, the Snowdens, don't they? They know what they're doing. Race 5, Captain Finkel.
Yeah, he's a promising type. He flew the gates. He was coming off a maiden win last time out at Doomben. We had this is interesting, a couple of horses, and I tipped them, and they were short in the market, coming off wins at Doomben last start that failed at Eagle Farm yesterday, and they gave absolutely nothing in the straight. So I wonder if there's a few around that handle Doomben but don't handle the surface at Eagle Farm. We might be getting back to that. I'll do some homework on that over the next few weeks, guys. But Captain Finkel, he was good. He bounced in front. Jimmy Orman was able to sort of stack him up a little bit after probably 300 or 400 metres, and he bounded away from them in the straight. And I know Marcus Wilson, his trainer's got... wants to chest him over 1,600 metres this prep, and then he wants to head maybe towards a derby in the winter. So we'll see how he goes. Jealous, who ran second, is also a nice type from Rob Heathcote's stable. It'll be winning races, Jealous. So follow those two, Captain Finkel and Jealous.
Well, he's a Kermadec and out of a Savabeel mare, so he's got every right to be able to get out to a derby distance. I love the Kermadecs. He's got that Teofilo Blood who gave us the Melbourne Cup winner last year, and he looks to have a bit of dash, doesn't he, this horse? He's got a bit of sprint about him for a Kermadec.
He does, and look, he did the same thing when he won his maiden at Doomben. He sat up on the speed, but he put them away so quickly there. And look, at only his third start to go from a maiden to an open 3-year-old in town is a pretty good effort. And his debut at Ipswich was second, and he chased nicely there. He just found the 1,200 metres a bit too short for him. So he's done nothing wrong at all 3 starts, and he's the sort of horse you'd like to share in.
Hey, Bradley, I've got to let you in on this one. Men's Street TAB yesterday, the office of the great tomato flogger Mark Scott, who's just about ready to hop on a plane and go to the Super Bowl. He's struggling. They tell me there's no money in tomatoes anymore. I don't know about that.
Wow.
But, I was standing there and I thought this last race at Eagle Farm, I better text Chrissy Nelson. What do you like, mate? And he said, Daytona. He said, I've told James Orman he's got to bounce out from the wide barrier and lead at all costs and it'll win. And got the money. I've got to thank you for the tip.
That's okay. Happy to help, Marty. I'm sure I've given you a couple of poor ones along the way, so hopefully that makes up for some of those. But, gee, you might have been sweating a little bit at the 200-metre mark when Emperor slipped up on the outside.
Emperor had him dead in the water, didn't he? Dead cold. He hadn't moved on it, Ryan Maloney. I said, we're gone here. But, yeah, good fighting win.
Well, Daytona Bay's got form up to 1,800 metres, and Emperor was going to 1,400 for the first time. So I was watching that thinking, I reckon we'll kick here. I think we'll kick.
Yep.
And he did so. So it was a good ride, a good win, and Emperor might be going back to 1,200 metres next start.
And the trainer, Callie Schweder, the old Hun, he's in some very good form, isn't he?
He is. And, of course, he's the master of CJ Graham, who rode 4 winners last Saturday, and I think rode another 2 during the week. And I'm not sure if she's got a winner yesterday or not. I know Talia Fenlon did, but she's absolutely flying, CJ Graham. So, yeah, he's kicking a lot of goals this year. He's had a great season so far, Kelly Schweder.
Righto, Nostradamus. Anything for the sunny coast today?
Yes. Race 5, number 1, Smoke and Oakham. Smoke and Oakham, race 5, number 1, should have won on debut at Warwick. Can get away with this. And race 6, number 6, Strongbow. Now, this horse... Brad, you're a fine athlete, Brownlow medalist, so I won't put you in this boat. But Marty and I, this horse, we could probably beat him, Strongbow. He's that slow, but he gets up to 2,200 metres today, and his last couple haven't been without much luck. So he could turn it around, race 6, number 6.
Okay.
The tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, Chris, before you go, because we've got to get the Racetrack Ralphy, but can you tell us when Bailey Wheeler is back in action? That is from Brad of Maylands.
He's off for a month. So I think that probably started last week. So you won't see him for a month.
Okay, off for a month. Good young rider, one to follow. But he's...
he's been suspended. I don't know if you know the story there, but he ran into a bit of trouble there with the stable. So he's off for a month.
Okay. No, can you pass on to our listeners what happened?
A bit of an indiscretion. He might have, I don't know this for a fact, but he might have had, he was late to a track work session. I think that's the second time that's happened. He was suspended for a month the first time, and now Annabelle Neesham's put him on the sidelines for another month. So there you go.
Yeah, that was always a bit of a knock on the kid, wasn't it? Always a bit of a knock on the kid. He's disciplined, so it's good that Annabelle's reined him in and said, right, this is what you've got to do to be the best of your business.
Yeah, and it's given CJ Graham a free kick in the Apprentices title. She'll ride a stack of winners while he's off. So lesson learned, hopefully, for Bailey.
Hey, Chris, we've got to get moving. Thanks for that. It's great. We'll listen in on Wednesday.
No worries, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the Aftermath.
Yeah, about to be joined by Racetrack Ralphy from racetrackralphy.com.au. Keep the text coming in on that Retrovision text line, 0427 789 571. We'll get to them after the 7 o'clock news. Got some beauties to read out. But very good morning, Ralphie. How are you over there in a very hot Melbourne town?
Yeah, we get your weather today. Good morning, boys. Righto, let's start with the pop quiz. Can you name the movie 2018? Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. What was the movie?
Star is Born.
That's what we saw race 10 yesterday, Brad. You're onto it.
Oh, no.
Jimmy Star.
Oh, no, wasn't it? Absolutely magnificent.
He is a superstar. I don't often say this, but this is the new star of Australian racing. And I'll put it on. What is it? No, to the Masters. There it is.
Ralphie, I'll chime in here because I spoke to the leading Melbourne ruckman of yesteryear, Peter Crackers-Keenan, yesterday. He said Pat Carey thinks he can win in the first and the last. I said he won't be winning the last. I said I don't even think he can win the first. But he did.
He cashed up early in the first, but we're going to round off with the last, and that's exactly right, because Who Dares was super at Flemington, and I think he just ran to it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Star's, not only is he touting this, he got that indication. Yes, the track was baked, and there's an interesting one that we'll compare later with a nice firm track, 121.5. But he's 4 lengths faster than the other 1400 race, which was running in real sharp time too. And I know it was benchmark 70, but he smashed that, and he had gears. I like the way Blake's in early. When he missed the start and Blake just pushed him into a position, you think, hang on. Jockeys know that if you miss the start, you're just going to take your medicine. But he must have that much faith in the horse. And as you said, Brad, the other hint was I looked before the race. He's $1.60. That horse should not have been $1.60 on what he'd done so far. But obviously what he showed the stable internally was he should have been $1.20.
In the morning mail, he was, they said, the most heavily backed horse in Australia, Jimmy Starr, anywhere.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, those boys, I'm mates one of them, but they don't mind opening the shoulders when they're confident. So that's obviously was part of it. But no, fair enough. He's into the All-Star Mile straight away, and he's going to take a power of beating it. I'll be interested in what, as in he's got an invitation. I don't know if it's accepted straight away, but what course they take. Do they go to Futurity and take on Mr. Brightside in 3 weeks? The good thing is we'll get to see Mr. Brightside and some of the others or next week. So it's exciting times, but on a day where there was a couple of standouts and mainly benchmark racing, this horse has emerged as a genuine, exciting horse to be looking forward to for the rest of his career, really.
Ralphie, looking longer term, just quickly, could he go to Sydney and be like a Doncaster miler or something like that?
Well, I would think that would be the only reason they wouldn't run him in the All-Star Mile, and the Futurity would be, if they take a benchmark race, I don't know, a 90 or a handicap, rather than one of the elite races, he gets into the Doncaster with the featherweight, and then he can win those races next year or in the spring. So that might be the only reason they avoid the All-Star Mile and the Futurity is to keep his rating down, get in with a featherweight, take on the handicaps now, and then see where the rest of the journey can take him.
Takes you through that weight for age path later on. But tell us about the day. Looked like you needed to be up and on, or up and in, as they like to say there at Caulfield yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what you knew that before the race, which is all I want is a form bike. No surprises. And the winners' lanes when they turn for home, is the winners' lanes 1, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4. The rail's out 9 metres and the track was firm. So that's what you expected and that's what you got. Let's
pick the eyes out of them. You lead.
Yeah, all right. Well, the first race, Pat Carey got the money, and good on those who backed it. But I think it's a pretty basic sort of race. Race 2, again, good from Smoking Giant was too short, got the drifts a bit. We needed to learn more about him. I think he was good on the day, and he's got wins in store for him, but just a boom, nice and fit. That's the theory with the Robbie Griffiths, the Cox stable for sure. Miss Icelandic was just too fast for him. Johnny Rocker's put up sore, so that's a legit excuse. Let's get to one of the other highlights though with race 4, Coleman. He was super. This is where it's really interesting in where the art of doing sectional times and studying everything else is, because I looked at high octane 57.9, Coleman 56.7, but yesterday the track was very firm. The track was not at all firm. In fact, I reckon borderline 5 on Australia Day. So I think it's going to be fascinating how they line up. He was super. And Zena, I think, was the perfect Blue Diamond trial for 1,200. Yep. And then I'm not jumping off the high octane bandwagon. So we've got a real race, and that's what we want to have going forward.
Yeah, Punch Lane, beautifully summed up by Zara.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a couple of those in the wrong spot. He was in the right spot. He won by a big margin. I don't know. I just don't know. It was only benchmark 70, so I couldn't get him as short as the market. But he was dominant. Herman Hess, I thought he was entitled to be the odds on. He's only just won, but a couple of those have ability when right. Monbahar, Al Cahoon, and definitely Grand Promenade. He might be the one next start. But we know when he won at Bart Cummings a few years back. It looks like they've got him ticking over nicely for sure.
He's going jumping. Grand Promenade.
Oh, wow. Is he going to be filling up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know that.
El Solido, nice win. Vagrant, Bo Merton's riding well.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, El Solido, that was a real fitness edge there, and a Mark Zara, a brilliant ride. I just didn't know where he could map. And two points made by first Mark Zara and then Bo Mertens. The races didn't pan out as they expected, and that's what good jockeys do. Sorry, it was John McNeil later, not Bo Mertens, who did ride well. But they were able to adapt on the fly, and he able to get into the 1-1. British Columbia, they went forward as expected, and he gave a sight. He's now rock hard ready, and I actually reckon that's the strong race 7. Strawberry Rock, big flashing light, and Move for Lex, and he did that run as well. Star Vega was in the wrong spot. Vagrant was dominant. She's flying, and the pace was on. Get Penthouse to Mooney Valley. Want to see that mare there. They won't catch her at Mooney Valley for sure.
And then Ray Magnero, he bounced back. Look, I don't know where we are with him, but I was very surprised how everyone dropped off him off just one, which was, he still ran third at his previous run, and he got out to a very big price there yesterday.
Look, he did, and while I'm in that camp, so I got my hand up there, got him wrong, and I'll tell you what, this is training performance of the day, isn't it? So just trying to peel this back. He effectively has been in work since last May. So, and it's his first ever prep. So, fantastic to bounce back hard. Jungle Jim was too fast for him at Flemington. Yesterday, back to 1100. Sherzhoff made Jungle Jim overdo it, and they undid each other. So, Ray McNeil, brilliant ride by John McNeil, and just picked off Midtown Boss, who was good. And I think he's actually one of the ones who can put a real stamp on from a Black Book perspective outside the obvious in Jimmy Starr, because next start he'll be rock hard fit. Needed his second up run, picked off by a rock hard fit horse himself. So Midtown Boss, the real horse to follow outside of the potential star, Jimmy Starr.
Okay, CF4 Stakes Day next week.
Yeah, can't wait. Good Group 1 racing and some other good quality coming through.
So to find all of the information you need, you go to racetrackralphy.com.au and you'll come home with your pockets full.
Let's hope so. Have a Caulfield rail through. I love it.
Oh, it's your little home track. That's where you do your best work.
We've got the home track on short on. Can't wait.
All right, Ralphie. All the best. We'll do it again next week.
Hey, Ralphie. Sorry.
You on me, boys?
You got sold online this week for $2,000 in digital.
Did I?
Big game in town today. The Perth Wildcats are playing the New Zealand Breakers. Gets underway at 1 o'clock. Cats are $1.47. The Breakers $2.70. The Lions at 5. Chris Pike's going to tell us all about this match. Very good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, guys. And you're right, it's a big game and a big day for one of the Wildcats' favourite sons, Damien Barton, as well. So plenty to look forward to later this afternoon.
Yeah, Chris, tell us about Damien Martin, who he's going to be up there on the big table with, really, because there's some fantastic names. A roll call there.
Yeah. Good morning, Brad. And so Damien Martin's jersey will be retired, so his number 53 will go up into the rafters, and it had been a long time since anyone had been up there. So we saw last year Sean Reddige's number 42 went up, but before that it had been a long time, but now I guess the two modern greats of the Wildcats team are now going up there. So, yeah, I mean, you do the roll call, and it goes back to Mike Ellis, who was the inaugural captain of those championship teams, and James Crawford, Scott Fenton, who unfortunately passed away. Then you had Ricky Grace, Andrew Vlahoff, Scott Fisher, and Sean Redditch. So it's pretty esteemed company that Damo will join, but gee, he fits nicely, doesn't he? I mean, 6 times NBL champion, 5 of those he was captain, 6 times best defensive player in the league, and I guess it says it all about what a defender he was when the league's now named the trophy after him for the best defensive player. He's clearly the best defensive player we've ever seen in the NBL, and I think you can make a great case that he's the greatest captain that the NBL has ever seen. He was a grand final MVP in one of those championship years as well, where he virtually didn't need to play offense, but because of how much he controlled that series against, ironically, the New Zealand Breakers, he was outstanding. He went to the Olympics as well after, I guess, having his heart broken, missing out on going to London. He was then able to go to Rio. Just a remarkable player, remarkable story. He's still around the club a lot. He still works, I guess, indirectly for the club with his job at SEN. He's still there courtside doing the commentary every single week. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a single person in the world that wouldn't think that he deserves to have his jersey going up into the rafters.
Do you think he'll go on and become a coach one day?
I don't think that's something he wants to do. He's got his finger in a lot of pies. So he's now doing his radio work at SEN. He's doing his real estate work. He's a part owner in a management company, so he's not officially an agent, but he oversees a lot of work that agents do, and he's got some star players under his banner there, including Bryce Cotton, who is his great mate. So he's one of his clients there. So I don't think coaching's in his blood. I'm sure he could do it if he wanted to. He understands the game as well as anybody. He's one of those guys that doesn't quite like to pin himself down to one thing. He's also got a young family at home with 3 daughters, and I don't think he will, just because I think he likes to spread his feathers a bit further than what a coach would allow. But if he ever wanted to, there'd be plenty of suitors that would snap him up very quickly.
Chris, 2v8 on the table today looks pretty straightforward. Is it, or has the Breakers got something to offer?
Yeah, I don't think it is as straightforward as that. I see the Breakers as a real threat, and we look at the table. Melbourne and Perth are the clear leaders, and you can really throw a blanket over everybody else. But I think from those other 8 teams, the Breakers could be the ones that are the biggest threat. They're still coming from a long way back, so they're 10 and 13, so they've got some work to do to even get to a play-in game to make the top 6, but they've got enough weapons there where they can be dangerous. They've got a pure scorer in Anthony Lamb, who this time last year was playing in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors, and playing a key role on that team. He could be the hardest guard in the league outside of Bryce Cotton. He's got a great all-round game. They've got Simon Cheatham, who's an excitement machine and an explosive athlete who's got some good size about him, probably similar to Keanu Pinder. He's got a very similar type of game to Keanu Pinder, so that'll be a great matchup. And then they've got a great point guard, quick point guard, very similar size, very similar pace, very similar everything to Bryce Cotton, obviously just not quite the same level in Parker Jackson Cartwright. So they're a real threat. They've been playing pretty good basketball for a little while now. I think the Wildcats will still get the job done, but this will be a high-scoring game. I expect both teams to score over 100 points. It'll be exciting. They'll push the pace. So I think the Wildcats will get there in the end, but no, it won't be quite as straightforward as it might look sort of when you look at it 7 against, what are we, 8th on the table.
Second v 8th, yeah. So there's our bet for you, Brad. The total match score is set at 185.5, the over at $1.89. So there's our bet.
We'll definitely be covering that. Definitely cover that.
We'll be throwing that into one of our Sunday saviours, that is for sure. Very interesting position on the ladders that I want to talk to just aside from this game. So you've got Adelaide, who under their new coach, Ninnis, has just gone on a roll, haven't they? They've won, 4 of their last 5 or something like that to be in 7th. New Zealand is still there as a chance, particularly if they could eke out a win today in 8th. Brisbane have got the wobbles a little bit lately, and so have Sydney and Illawarra, a team that we've identified a long way out since the change of coach, have zoomed up to be 4th on the ladder. How do you see this playing out in the last couple of rounds?
Yeah, it's a fascinating race, and you're right. The 2 teams with interim coaches, so the Illawarra Hawks have got Justin Tatum, and as you mentioned, Adelaide with Scott Ninnis. They've really turned their fortunes around. I think by the time both of them made their change of coach, they were both locked into the bottom 2 spots, and it was hard to see them turning it around. But now they're both on a great roll. So the Hawks beat the Brisbane Bullets again last night, and I think they're just about a lock to finish top 4 at the moment. So they've done a great job, and Adelaide have just been incredible. What Scott Ninnis has done is remarkable. I mean, he's a guy that 13 years ago he was fired from his job, took the club to court because of how he was treated, and he never thought he would coach again. And even as recently as 3 or 4 years ago, he had never coached at any level since. But he got himself back in at NBL 1 level in Adelaide, and for him to come in, he's a favourite son of the club. He's a Hall of Fame member of the 36ers, and what he's done is incredible. But you're right, the Sydney Kings, the reigning champs, they've definitely hit the wobbles. They lost to Adelaide again on Thursday night. They just don't have the same bite to them. A different coach this year with Chase Buford moving on and Mahmoud Abdul-Fattah coming in and not quite fitting right. They just don't seem to have that same bite to them. They're very poor defensively, and they're very hit and miss offensively. The Brisbane Bullets were very disappointing last night as well in Illawarra to lose that game. So, yeah, I mean, it's anyone's guess how it'll pan out over the next 2 weeks. I think you can lock in the Jack Jumpers to stay where they are in 3rd. I think the Hawks will probably stay in that top 4, and I actually think it'll be Adelaide and New Zealand to sneak into those 5th and 6th spots. So it's going to be a fascinating last couple of weeks.
Chris, obviously the AFL looking at having a team in Tassie in the next 4 or 5 years. So the Jack Jumpers are a remarkable story, aren't they, what they've been able to do?
Yeah, they are. They've been able to capture the imagination of the Tasmania community. So they've done a great job just representing the whole community. So they're based in Hobart, but they don't forget about Launceston as well, and they play a couple of games there every year. And they've just done such a great job getting out into the community. And they've basically based their model on what the old Wildcats model was. If you go back 15 years, where they want to become, I guess, the pride of the state, they base themselves on representing their community. They get out into the schools, get out into the community, and they get the whole state behind them on the back of that. And they've had a perfect coach to do that. Scott Roth has absolutely embraced everything. And if he ran for premier right now in Tasmania, I'm sure he'd win. They sell out their building there at My State Bank Arena every single night, and it's not big enough for them. It's only 4,500 that it holds. If it was 7,000 or 8,000 capacity there, I'm sure they would still fill it every night. They get a great crowd there, and it's a great model for any sport. They might be lucky because they got in there first before an AFL team, or even before an A-League team that's looked into it. So I think that helped them sort of capture the imagination, and they've done a great job. I mean, they're going to play playoffs for the third straight year, and they've only been in the league in 3 years, and they're a real threat. I don't think Perth would have it easy against them if they came up against them in a playoff series, and they've actually got the wood over Melbourne United as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think they'll finish third, and it's a great performance. Full credit to everybody at that organisation to be as competitive as they have been, but also to be instantly part of the Tasmania community. They've done a great job on both fronts.
Talking NBL with Chris Pike. We've got one off the text line here, Chris, from Chris of Wellard. Why are Illawarra so good against the Cats, having beaten them twice?
They just match up really well. So they've got some good matchups there with Bryce Cotton. So they've got a bit of size that they can put on him defensively with Wani Swakalobuluk, who's a former Wildcat, won some championships with the Wildcats, and got used to guarding Bryce in practice, and he guards him well, but they do a great job of denying him the ball. So they just dare anyone else on the Wildcats team to beat them, basically, and they double-team Bryce, they triple-team Bryce, and just try to make sure he doesn't get the ball in his hands as much as they can. And as a result, they've done a great job the last two times that they've played. They did a similar job with Nathan Sobey from Brisbane last night with the way they guarded him and limited his influence, and they won that game as well. So they've got a nice blueprint there for some of the better guards in the league, and then they've got a tough matchup with someone like Gary Clark, who could be the best power forward in the competition the way he's playing right now. He's a tough matchup for them, and they're just playing hard, and they've got someone like Todd Blanchfield who's got a chip on his shoulder against the Wildcats for the way he felt he was probably unfairly treated last season. So when he comes up against his old team, he's got a bit of a point to prove there. So they're a great matchup. They do play again in the run home. So it'll be interesting if they can do what they've done two times so far this year, if they can do it for a third time. Yeah,
that'll be in the final round 20, and is at the Wynn Entertainment Centre. It'll kick off that round as well on a Thursday night, so we can't wait for that. Hey, Chris, we can't wait for this one today against the Breakers. Gets underway, tip-off at 1 o'clock. Should be a magnificent afternoon there, and let's hope it all goes well for the Wildcats. Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, guys, and good to chat some hoops. There he is, Chris Pike, as he has been a regular on the show on the Aftermath. 7:25.
Every Sunday morning, like a lullaby to a baby's ear, Marty Young and Brad Hardie entertaining you on the Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
How's Coco the Super Dog going, Brad?
Going beautifully, Marty. I've got the air conditioner on. She's in her little cool pool, as I call it. And, yes, can't wait for the cricket tonight and can't wait for the racing this afternoon.
Very interesting to find out how Courtney Walsh handles the heat. A very good morning, Courtney.
Yeah, good morning, gents. Will be a scorcher on the East Coast. I think they're predicting 41 in Sydney today, which, given there's a one-dayer at the SCG, that's going to be lively for them, you'd think.
It wouldn't be as hot as the kitchen that you were in when Cynic was down 2-love there on Sunday night.
I was getting some notes from some friends. Now, under the accreditation rules, I'm not allowed to have a wager, so I wasn't on him, but I was very mindful that I've been strong on him all the way through. And I just kept saying, keep the faith, whilst I was, tearing what was left of my hair out. But he was able to, he finished really strongly, and I think it was a well-deserved victory. I think the bloke he played in the final played exceptionally well, Medvedev. Masterclass in how he attacked him in the first couple of sets, but he was just good enough to come over the top of him. Fresher, but a really, I think it won't be the last, put it that way. I'm pretty sure we'll see him winning quite a few more.
It wasn't you had your accreditation torn up having a selfie with Sinner on the way to the court.
No, look, that's something that slipped by me as well. Did that actually happen, Brad? That's very far from ideal.
Yeah. One of the journos just took the opportunity, and he was quite forthcoming. He did it, and all that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, they grabbed him and said, "Well, you're out."
That's not great. How do I put it? If you're probably in the wrong game if you're seeking selfies with players, I would have thought, and particularly before the tournament, before the final starts.
Yeah, but what about the world really looks to be his oyster now, doesn't he? Of those, and we've spoken about it sort of ad nauseum, of those younger group that were projecting to be the next big thing, he sort of leapfrogged a few of them on the way through, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, I think it's pretty clear that there's a 22 with an Australian Open under his belt, and having just the record he's had against the top 10 players in the last 6 months, it's just, you can't be ignored. It is a fantastic record, and he is an all-court player, so he can play on all three surfaces. He can play, throw different options at rivals. So, look, Alcaraz, I'm certain will be fine. He's won 2 already at 20. There is still some inexperience in him, but when he's on fire, he's outstanding. And you only had to listen to Darren Cahill, the Australian coach who's worked wonders with so many champion players, talk about what he thinks of Alcaraz in the hours after that win, which was more to the point, probably about 2 a.m. in the morning, when by the time Cahill was speaking at Melbourne Park last Monday, and he was saying he's very much there. So those two are the pick, but there are some really good players coming through. Look, the old boys are not done yet. I wouldn't be writing off Djokovic at Wimbledon, wouldn't be writing off Nadal at the French if he's fit, but certainly these two are the future of the sport.
Yeah, it's fair to say if you want to win a major, get a team up with Cahill. What is it about him? Is it conditioning? Is it thought processes? Is it technique? What is it?
I think it's more the thought process than the technique. I think it's very much defining. I mean, look, they've already been outstanding talents. Hewitt was a world beater as a young kid. Agassi clearly had all the potential in the world. Simona Halep was just an outstanding player, and Sinner had all the talent. But it's just, I suppose, discovering that little extra percent that helps them get to the number one ranking and to become a Grand Slam champion. And he's clearly got something in him, like whether it's an ability to explain it to them, ability to keep them calm, whatever the process is, he can get the best out of them, and he's shown it time and again. They were all outstanding athletes beforehand, but he's taken them to the next step, and that's something pretty special.
Yeah, that seems to be the...
2:30...
Sorry, go on, Brad. Hello?
No, you got a question.
No, I was about to say...
So I was going to go with them.
Yeah. Just one more on Cahill, that you heard it a couple of times during that tournament, that when things had got a little bit hot in the box and, the minds were starting to get a bit ragged, he was the one who cooled it all down and said, let's start thinking through this clearly and keep a clear head on what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one in tennis, having done away with no coaching in the stands, which I'm not necessarily that much of a favour for, I've got to say. Yeah. Even though we knew it happened illegally, but it does change things when you've got a master coach, and obviously his other coach, Simone Vogele, who's work with very good players as well, and clearly a very, very, very good coach. To have two coaches in the box capable of changing a match when Medvedev's got a great coach himself, but if it was against a bloke in his 70s or 80s who doesn't have the same resources, that's where things can get a bit skewed, in my opinion. But nonetheless, it can change matches, and it worked the other day. Sinner changed his strategy slightly, started going down the line on that back end more regularly in the third set, and that started to prove the difference. He then got some confidence, and from there it was game on.
11:30 Western Standard Time today, Courtney. A couple of new debutants for the Australians.
Yeah, we'll have Fraser McGurkin, we'll have Sutherland in. It's an interesting series, this, in terms of very much an experimental one for the Australians, given probably the depth of the West Indian one-day team, which we saw on Friday, was not loaded with threats at every step. No, there's no Shamar Joseph in this one-day team. It would be fair to say from what we saw in MCG. So Bartlett goes out, who took 4 wickets on debut in a really promising performance. He's rested, and we'll see a couple of new Australians come in. Travis Head's been released after making first over 4. He's been released from the squad to freshen up for New Zealand, which is not the first time. He was also released and given a freshen up after that when he stayed on in India after the World Cup triumph. Yep. He played those T20. So, look, it's an interesting one. Why? Josh Hazlewood's been added to the squad today. You'll have Spencer Johnson added to the squad on Tuesday in Canberra. Clearly it's sort of a tack-on series. Wouldn't we be better, gents, if we had a third test underway between Australia and the West Indies at the moment, rather than 3-1 ODIs?
Yeah.
No argument for me at all,
more.
Particularly after the way the second test finished up.
Yeah, it just seems like perhaps they got 17,000 or so through the gates at the MCG. Given it's hot, I can't imagine they'll get, if they'd be lucky to get that many there today in Sydney. You'd think if it was a really hot day, and in Canberra. So why not have a third test? Is it economics? I find that really hard to stomach, that you reduce what has been historically. The West Indies hadn't been firing for a long time, but historically the Frank Worrell Trophy was a really prized trophy. To reduce it to a 2-test series and have it 1-1, but Australia retains it because there's no third test, is somewhat ridiculous in my mind.
All right, so let's talk about going forward for this Australian team. They've got to go to New Zealand. How do you see this series playing out?
Well, New Zealand's underway in that series against South Africa as we speak. South Africa's named 6 uncapped players in that team. They took an early wicket, but Williamson is sort of steadied at the top of the order for New Zealand. So they're playing Test cricket. We're playing those ODIs and then T20s, and then we'll play a T20 sort of series just before we play New Zealand. In terms of the makeup, look, I don't think we'll see much change in terms of the actual makeup of the Australian team. I think they've very much backed the squad in that played against the West Indies to play against New Zealand. So I think we'll see Smith opening, and I'm sure we'll see Cameron Green at 4. But they'd want to perform better. You can't have Travis Head making a king pair, for example, and expect to come away with success in New Zealand. I think the freshen up is probably going to be a good thing for the bowlers, because it has been from the World Cup bouncing straight into those 5 test series. Whether they should have had a bit of a rotation in the latter stages against the West Indies, maybe that would have been preferable as well. But no, I can't see too much changing in terms of the makeup of that 11. I'm pretty sure they'll go with the same 11 for the New Zealand series beginning later this month.
Courtney, just back on to today. Obviously, Marty and I, we're all unabashed fans of the Wild thing. Has he been overmanaged? I mean, look, it's only a small sample, but even in his semi-finals of the BBL, he charged in, he bowled like a wild man, he bowled with pace, but it didn't seem to be a lot of direction and thought in it. Is he in the right space?
That is a really good question, because you looked the other day, and if you had look at the 2 debutants opening the bowling at against the West Indies, well, one took none for 59 off 10, and the other 4 for 17 off 8, and you would have thought that might have been Morris, based on the hype around him, obviously, and the expectations for the future. He didn't quite get it right at the G. So whether he's bowled enough is the challenge, and I guess it's an interesting strategy as to how they manage these guys, and having him around the summer, I'm sure that's probably going to do him a benefit for the long term, having him around the Australian team. But is he bowled enough? It's a really good question. You see Scott Boland, who basically went round as carrying the drinks for Australia for the entire summer, goes back and bowls, and within a couple of overs he saw in the Shield match, because he hasn't bowled too many overs, a bit of a sore knee. So it is a challenge for the guys who are right on the periphery as to whether they get enough cricket to remain at their best. I think we'll see. I'm sure we'll see Morris bounce back in today. I think that's probably just an outlier. But no, I think it's a good point you make, Brad. Absolutely.
Okay, that match underway. You mentioned New Zealand are 2 for 55 against South Africa at the moment. Williamson's not out 20, and Ravindra is not out 11. So that's an interesting start to that match, Courtney.
Yeah, it is. As I said, there was a wicket early on from one of the uncapped whose names just escaped me. Sorry, there were 6 of them.
Yeah.
But the other one, obviously, that we're keeping a very close eye on at the moment is in India, given England are touring there and had that stunning success in the first test of the 5-test series, which is a proper series, a 5-tester. India well on top in the second test, but a fair effort from the young opener who clearly has a lot of talent, Joswal, making double 100 on in the first innings, and now he and Rohit Sharma unbeaten at the top of the order in the second, so they're fairly well in control of that match. But it made for fascinating viewing when Australia and West Indies are coming down to that thrilling conclusion, and England and India are coming down, having an amazing match as well. That's the type of stuff we should be celebrating. I think those type of results.
Exactly right, Courtney. Always good to chat, and we'll probably do it again next week.
Absolute pleasure, gents. All the best.
He's a beauty. Courtney Walsh keeps us up to date. And, Zach Crawley was amongst the runs again there too for England. 76, Duck at 21. They got away to a flying start, but they, as they often do, got stars but couldn't go on with it, and paid the price out for 253 there yesterday. Watched a fair bit of that match. It was
for the judge, a length and a half requisition. Vampier play tracking right up on the inside. Indy Ruler's wobbled off. Indy Ruler went via the cape on the turn, straightens up about 4 or 5 off the fence, still leads Vampier play. Requisition Forest War followed further back by No Dice. Indy Ruler down inside the last 100 is still clear. The charge is coming. Shaka Zulu defending a rattling home with Forest War, but it'll have just enough in hand. Indy Ruler won from the fast finishing Shaka Zulu, defending Forest War.
That was a terrific win for Indy Ruler there yesterday. Bradley and Luke Fernie, the trainer of this horse, joins us. A very good morning, Luke.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Yeah, we're well. Brad's in Melbourne, but first off, I just want to congratulate you. The job you've done on this horse has been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been a very hard horse to get to the races and get him to do everything right, but I think the day that he puts it all together is going to be a good result for everybody that's involved. He still does a few things wrong, and we're still trying to iron a few issues out, but the ability's there. We've just got to be patient, and I'm sure we'll get a little bit more reward to come with it.
Luke, congratulations to you and Jade. A great plan hatched on, no doubt. If it was a greyhound, it pinged the lids. Got to come out quick.
Yeah, he's sharp, and then unfortunately he likes to high-five the crowd down the outside rail when he gets in them moods. But I think it's more he just gets lonely. He needs a buddy with him, and it's probably a good thing that he's going so quick for everything else at the moment. But hopefully, like I said, we can iron that out, and we've got plenty more wins in store for him.
So it's been well documented. You said he's not an easy horse to even get along with and to train, but are you winning that battle?
I thought I was, and then he kicked me during the week, and I thought, oh, geez, I don't know how much longer you're going to be in the stable, mate. But, he is. It's 85% of the time he's beautiful, and then, he can just flick that switch at times to make life difficult. And he's one of them ones. He's like an ADHD kid that doesn't really know what to do with their time, but we're getting on top of it, and I think that's probably the beauty of being able to take him to them lesser places. It was never his ability that's the issue. It was more just trying to get his head right. And just through racing, I think the more racing he does, the better he's going to be.
You say he's very sharp. There's no doubt about that. How far do you think you might want to try and take him out, or are you just going to keep him confined to the shorter versions?
Probably keep him to the shorter trips at the moment until we get him to corner properly. I'm sort of thinking it hasn't worked with the barriers the last couple because he's drawn wide, but if he was to draw the inside gate, we could probably try and sit him, or just they go a little bit sharper over the 1,000, so he could sit outside one or have one guide him around the corner, which would help. And I think once we nail that, then we can start stepping him out, but we just got to, like I say, stay on top of his racing manners at the moment.
Apart from him, Canellan's legacy was good, and so was Mojo's Luck.
Yeah, really happy with the both of them. They just went too slow up front for Mojo's. I thought his section was a good late. He got on the chewy a little bit. And, he's in for a really good prep. He's a nice horse. And Canellan's Legacy is one of them horses. They're just a 3-year-old that hasn't fully developed into her body yet, but she's bred to get over a trip, and it showed yesterday. She really savaged the line. So we'll try and get her to a 2400 of an Oaks or one of them races and see if we can scramble through there.
Luke, 11 down at Bunbury today. No doubt you'll be participating. You got something for us?
Yeah, we've got plenty in there today. We've got a nice one in the first. He's pretty sharp. Bravo Centurion, and Storm Chaser goes around in the feature race. He's also in pretty good nick, so it'd be nice to see them two go well.
Bravo Centurion by National Defence. Yep. One thing about, and I'm only looking from afar here, Luke, but you're not afraid to get out of the box and go for these different stallions. Do you just pick them on type, or do you spend much time, searching for different new stallions coming into the industry?
We both know my reading isn't the greatest, and me smart, so me reading through a book doesn't really sit too well with me. So I always go and look at the horses first and pick them on type, and then from there I try and lean on a few people because there's no pictures in the book to get me through. But mostly on type, and I reckon you can trick yourself when you look at the page and you go and look at them. If they got their legs bent the other way, you're not much chance of getting a result with them. So we try and just look at the horse first and go from there.
So what about Bravo Centurion today?
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. His first run was good. He pulled up a little bit, so he's a bit soft-boned, so we had to put him out and just give him that little bit of time. And I think this time in the owners, they're going to be rewarded for their patience. I think he's a really nice horse, so hopefully today we see that.
On that girl first up in the second?
She's nice enough. She's a big, raw horse. I think time is probably going to suit her. She trialled well. The horse that she trialled behind of Casey's is really sharp, and she ran through the line well enough. I don't think it's an overly strong field today, but first time going to the races, it'll be a watch and learn, I think.
How about Queen of Chaos in race number 6 by Grunt? Won the trial well?
Yeah, she won the trial well. I don't know what the quality was like behind her, but she's definitely improved from the trial. So going to the races, it's another watch, but I wouldn't be surprised if she run along and give a good kick. She's no superstar, but she certainly surprised me over the last fortnight.
In race number 8, you got the Russian Revolution rushing to the bar for our good mate David Reed and co.
Yeah, put a big price tag on him, and he won really good the other day. It's always hard maiden to Class 1, but I think the ability's there. I think it's quite a sharp Class 1. There's a few horses there that go reasonably well, and we'll get a good guide on his ability levels today. It'll just be whether he can get a good run from an ordinary gate.
Yeah, and the main race, as you said, Storm Chaser, he'd be pretty happy, drawn 1.
Yeah, he's a super horse. There's a few different form lines in that race today, so it'll be interesting to line up. I'm fortunate enough I've got some fast ones at home I can line him up against and see how he stacks up. So I'm pretty confident if he goes to the races and reproduces what he's done on his work, then they're going to have their work cut out today.
Okay, last start on Perth Cup Day was a really, really good win when gunned down Hanchy and Rear Admiral.
Yeah, and I think the Caseys have a really good opinion of both them horses, and he sat back and he's been one of them horses that's got another mind of his own, and he's got to when Frosty rode him over 1400, he wobbled around when he was in front waiting for horses, and he said to me, just drop him back in distance and ride him a little bit colder, and I reckon he'll savage the line, and that's probably his best win to date, and I think going forward that's what we'll do with him, and hopefully we see something very similar today.
He's just untapped for mine, this horse. Love the breeding by him pending. He's doing so well at start out of Chansky. So any sort of a ceiling in your mind with him at this stage?
Well, I didn't think he'd make it to this grade as quick as what he has, but he's been working. He worked through with Ripcord when he was on his Winterbottom Path and Placid Arc, and there's not a hell of a lot when you're working. Like they're always head and head and have plenty left in the tank. So if you go off that, the ceiling's pretty high for him, but we just got to make sure you just got to go a different path with him. I think racing for him is the only way to teach him, where Ripcord's more ready to go. More racing for this bloke, we'll just see improvement each start. Before
we get your best, how's Ripcord going?
Yeah, good. He come back into work a couple of weeks ago out on the farm at Becknan. So went out and seen him the other day, happy. It's obviously that boring process of getting them fit again, and nothing too exciting with him, but he'll just go through the motions until we get ready to go to the Roma Cup.
Okay, what's your best there at Bunbury?
I have a multi. I have the one in the first, Bravo Centurion into Storm Chaser.
Yeah, we have it. Beautifully done.
Yep.
All the best. It's a big day at Bunbury for your stable and for everyone concerned. Thanks for coming on the Aftermath, Luke.
Enjoy, boys, sir.
He's a beauty. 5 away from 8 o'clock. Brad, let's talk some AFL. I want to ask you first off, what's going on down in Tassie?
They'll be revealing their colours, names, logo, etc. in the next few weeks. You know, I mentioned to the boys some time ago on the Daily that it will be big Benny Gale will be running the show. He'll be the CEO down there. Funnily enough, his house went up for sale yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So that'll be announcements coming. So 2028 it's looking like on the ground. They're building their centre of excellence down there regardless, but there's still a bit of pushing and throwing in regards to the new stadium. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it'll get up some way, in some shape or form, Marty. They'll be playing down there in Tassie probably in 2028.
I want to ask you about one team each week leading in. We've been doing it a bit this week. I've got a bit of a microscope on Geelong, and I'm hearing good things.
Like them or not? You are? Yeah.
I'm hearing good things about them. They haven't got an injured player on their list. They've changed the way they're training, more high-intensity, high-speed work. If they were to come into this season without too many injuries or any injuries at all, skip back 1 year and have a look at their stats for when they won the flag. They're unbelievable statistics.
No doubt. And the home ground advantage is a huge one as well. That'll be open up to the masses this year. Always worries me, though, going back 2 years, you're probably right. Roll forward 2 years, I'm still worried. I'm just worried about the possible injuries. I know they haven't got any at the moment, but I'm worried about the likes of Hawkins, Cam Guthrie, Mitch Duncan, Dangerfield. They tend to get some stress injuries or soft tissues and the like. That's the worry for me. That's all. They're a very good football club, very good football side, but those guys are 2 years on, Marty. And it just worries me a little bit that they're talking about putting Tom Stewart in the middle. Forget that. Don't even worry about it. What are you doing? I mean, you've got the best defender arguing in the game. Why do you want to break that for? Yep. That's not smart. That's not smart. And
funny enough, Brad, defensively was their area of concern last year as well, because they still scored well. They score average per game 91, but their defence went from their premiership year of 68 to 81, so they really went poorly in defence.
Well, he's the benchmark of intercept, isn't he? Tom Stewart. So you don't want to take that away from yourself. And I see him in the middle of the ground at times, and he looks very stilted. It's not his natural game. He's not a, bend over, win the ball at ground level from a tap-out type player. He's the bloke who cuts the angles, spots into the holes, changes the direction of the play. Yeah, leave it as it is.
Okay. So you've got a big watch on them. Have you got them making the 8?
I think that the bottom end, if they're lucky, I think that they'll be vying for a number of clubs for the 8th spot, I reckon. I don't think they're going to be top 4 or anything like that, even top 6. I think they're probably in that group, that clump, who are looking to finish in 7th or 8th, I would have thought.